But I keep talking and trying to convince my wife that eventually this might be a retirement a few years down the road, so if I keep cranking out, so.
And I would like to say, I was kind of his mentor. He's like the poster child, and it was kind of me. So.
I know, it's all, so if you
I'm
don't,
the bad, the black
if you don't like my books.
Like Robyn.
I'm the one that's always like running behind and just, oh, will I write another one? Maybe. And he's over here putting me to shame.
Yeah, when I get something I'm excited about, in my teeth, I tend to run, and so, yeah, and I'm involved in probably way too many pies than I need to be, but it's exciting and fun, so I'm having a good time.
So how long would it take you to write a book?
It varies.
Hours, days, weeks? I mean, what are we asking? I don't really
To get
keep
the whole
track.
book done, you're gonna take a few months to get one book done?
Let's see here. That question comes up all the time, and I really should stop and figure it out. Black Hills Fall, I did not work at all last winter. I was on crutches all winter. And so I got it done in, I think maybe 3 or 4 months time. I don't know, Boyd's probably watching this going, But I think it was about 4 months, yeah. And not sitting down every day by any means. I have like ADHD, so I'm always, gotta go vacuum or
We all have different writing styles, that's for sure too.
Yeah.
I tend to try to model myself and get in a habitual writing pattern because I find I do better and I write more if I do that. Sometimes that's difficult with real life creeping in and real jobs and everything else. But last year, well, I guess since I started writing in late January, early February last year, and I finished 2 books last year with a full-time job. This year, I've committed to doing 4, doubling it, and so that's going to really stress my capacity and bandwidth, but that'll mean I should be finishing a book every 3 months. Is my goal. And achievable goal, a little more difficult when you're working full time, but we have some authors in the series that's highly prolific. The one who did the Black Deadwood book for Robyn, book cover, she multi-talented, she not only designs, we have a couple authors who not only design but also write. Highly prolific. She cranks them out once a month.
Cranks them out.
Oh.
Yeah, one a month. She's like a machine. So,
Yeah.
and some of us are longer. I think 6 months is probably the high end, and 1 month is probably short end. So,
One more question. From a publishing standpoint, I'm fascinated, and this may be a tough one for you to answer, but these publishers must get bombarded with submissions, that people that want to write and stuff. Any idea how far into a book that a publisher has to look before he sees something or that's marketable or that they want to proceed with?
I don't know. I know in my experience, like the second one I was asked to write, so he had read 75 miles.
Sure.
And I was lucky enough to get, with both of my publishers, they were new publishing companies, so it was easier for me. I think if it was a publishing company that had been around for a while, established, they probably wouldn't have gave it a second look.
Sure.
So my experience was a little bit unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the smaller indie publishers I think are a little more open to reading pieces of it and kind of making a gut call one way or the other. I think I submitted the first 3 chapters and they liked it enough to take a chance on me. So, but I'm sure if you're going to Simon & Schuster or some of the other big companies, they're going to want completely done, and you should better have done a lot of editing on your own before you submitted it to them. And even then, it's obviously it takes a lot of talent to get into with the big companies with big dollar contracts. But at the same time, there's so much luck involved in the business, being in the right place, the right time. I mean, I'm a perfect example of that. I didn't have any designs of writing per se, and just literally tripped and fell into it in the Rapid City airport, so, you know,
But don't, I mean, if anybody in here is like wanting to write a book, don't ever think that you can't write a book if you don't have a publishing company, because so many successful authors are self-published on Amazon.
Yeah.
And you get to keep a higher percentage.
Yeah.
Personally, me, I have zero desire to ever do that. That's just not my thing. But a lot of people have had a lot of success doing it that way, so.
I was just looking a couple months, probably a month ago, Colleen Hoover, who's huge into, she's an indie author, self-published. She had like, out of the top 20 bestsellers on Amazon, had like 6 last year, and totally self-published, so it's doable without, you know, going through a publisher or without going through one of the big names, so.
Sure.
You definitely, I love having a publisher because all the marketing and bookwork and editing and all of the business part of it that goes along with it, and understanding the whole Amazon pricing structure and being placed in right.
Yeah.
I'd rather be writing. That takes away from my time to write. I'd rather be writing stories. But there's people who, authors love that too. I mean, they'd rather do that than write to a large degree, so.
Yeah. We're very lucky. Our publishers are real people, and they're just so awesome to work with, for sure.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'm not watching the time, are you?
Yeah, no idea.
Well, I'd just like to say that, for both of you, I've only read 80 pages of your first book, but I knew everywhere, and it was so great. Well, I've not been to where Mike lives. I did get to spend the summer on Winslow Island, so I've been on an island there, and it's very alive for me. And because I read your book, I trusted it. And so I trust that his locations are right and real. I started reading some book one time, and the only thing I remember from it was where I quit reading when they talked about the river that went through Deadwood. If that person puts a river in Deadwood.
That's one really quick way to get people to stop reading your books. Number
Yeah,
one,
it did.
guns,
It was
if you don't know
very
guns,
disappointing.
if you
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
your location, you're gonna lose them. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, this genre is kind of interesting because there's a lot of people that, obviously, if you say post-apocalyptic, they think of zombies and
Futuristic.
horrible
Yeah.
or sci-fi, and then they're not all like that, obviously, and I've had a lot of readers, largely due to being friends or family or colleagues or whatever else, that have picked up the book and gave it a try anyway just because they knew me, but they got done, they're like, you know, I would have never read a book in this series, but I really like this stuff, you know.
That's
And
me. That's
Yeah.
me.
And I've had a lot.
I don't care for that.
Yeah.
No, but the one thing is though, too darn real. That is what
Especially
scares me.
since EMPs are coming up in the news a lot more
Yeah.
often these
Yeah.
days, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Or the
that-
Chinese keep sending balloons over.
Balloons,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been interesting because we started this whole world timeline with kind of a concept, and then since that's come out, you know, it's like history's following up behind us, you know, reading the books or something. It's scary. You know, with China rattling sabers all the time, but with Taiwan and North Korea firing missiles, and obviously the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and it's horribly scary. You know, the talk of nuclear war that I thought we'd put behind us, you know, years ago, and it's back in the news every day now. So, you know, I know had a lot of people also that have come to us and come to me and said, you know, I'm not a prepper, I'm not a survivalist or whatever, but I read your books and now I'm worried. How do I start? Where do I start? What do I start doing? And in some ways, it's nice to have that type of a reaction, because you know that you're getting to them at some level. That was not my purpose in writing this. I would like to be considered a storyteller and just tell a story. But if I can get people thinking about things and preparing and being better prepared, that's a win-win. So.
That's really the whole point of writing is to give people something to keep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's nice to see
Well said.
people get attached to characters too, you know,
Ah.
because as an author, you get attached to your characters, you know, they become your friends and enemies by the time you're done, and some of the ones that are, even the good characters become your enemies because they drive you crazy, but,
I had a beta reader tell me that she cried. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yay! I was like, that was the best compliment I ever had. She cried when she read one of my books. So, you know, you do. I think certain brain types, you know, have that creative kind of lean anyway, and so then, you know, they get more attached to a character or whatever.
Well, and
but-
when he had, there was actually 3 or 4 of the characters that were in your book went to the Korean one, and then they went across the United States to get home. I mean, that to me kind of broadened my, first I was there, and now I want to read the other books that I thought, oh, I'm just gonna stay with Mike and you, and you know, I'll be just happy, but now, I read the Korean one, I need to read some more, you know, what happened to the character. I love when they pull a character or characters out and put them in their book to see what happened to them.
and that's a lot of fun as an author too. I know one of the reasons why we drive that sort of thing is because most of the time we're readers, as I mentioned, and I love that when I do that. You know, not necessarily across authors, but you know, Robert Heinlein is one of my favorite sci-fi authors, and I've read everything of his probably 6 times over. And he did that with his books. He would write this book, then you know, this other book over here that was totally unrelated, all of a sudden the character would pop in. It's like, holy, you know, because it's like seeing an old long lost friend, you know, after all the years. So.
And I really enjoy using names of people I know in my books, or like people that read my books. I'll throw I used Mike's name in Black Hills Fall, but I'll throw like Facebook fans or whatever that are always commenting or really super supportive. I'll use their names for characters. And man, people love that, and it's just fun.
Yeah, I will tell you, I have never been probably as tickled as I was when I ran into that, because I was totally did not know my name was going to be in her book, and so I'd been writing a little bit, but my book had not come out, and I was reading the Black Hills Fall when it came out, and I was, you know, whatever, a third of the way through it, whenever it popped up, and it's 9:30 at night, and I read it. I looked at it, I had to read it like 6 times, and then all of a sudden I go, you're running through the house and telling my wife, you gotta read this, look at this.
And her name's in the one I'm working on now too.
So it was very, very fun as a reader to see your name.
From anybody
Never.
using them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll ask, and then other times I'm like, they'll love it. What are they gonna do? Sue me? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, and I like when you drew in about the buffalo or the lady that had a little trouble with the buffalo. I just burst out laughing. It was like, oh my God.
Yes, it's fun bringing real life tidbits in as part of the backstory and color. It's with Vashon, since it's a small island, you know, it very much like Spearfish. You go downtown if you live there very long, and you bump into people you know all the time. It's just the nature of the island, and so a lot of my characters are based on people on the island that I know and friends, and I asked them just to make sure that they were good with me writing them into the book and stuff, and they were all very excited, very excited. You know, we had the book release party, and they all came, and they had name tags on with their character name and stuff, so that people knew who they were, and it was a lot of fun for all of them. So I think everybody used a fictitious name, change to protect the innocent, but except for Dave and Katie in my book, who live in the neighborhood of the main character, they wanted their own real name too, so they were real people.
So is Hollywood getting a hold of this?
Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Not so far.
I've
Okay,
talked
the
to a
next
couple
Star Trek
local
series.
movie producers about 75 miles. There's a couple guys in Rapid City that have produced movies, but I'm learning a lot, and it's like anywhere from 5 to 10 year process. So I'm not holding my breath. I think 75 miles would be an awesome movie for you know the younger kids or whatever. It's a strong female character that. But, you know, and they're like, well, we're interested in it, but everything's like pulling teeth, and everything takes forever. So I'm like, okay, cool, just keep me posted. Not getting my hopes up, but it'd be pretty awesome.
Sure.
And I was like, I would want it filmed here in the Black Hills, that's for sure, so.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean,
Any of them would
Any
be.
of 'em, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Or how about a TV series?
TV
on
series.
Black Hills, all the fall
Yeah.
books.
Well, we can get one of
Can
those
pop
Amazon
around.
Prime series.
Yeah.
We could be the new Yellowstone.
Yes. But we'll still come right here and talk to you guys every year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions, guys?
Time check? Let me know what time it is.
Yeah, 1:20.
1:20.
About 20 after.
Oh, we're good.
Like an hour. Does anybody have any other questions? Otherwise, we can move into, we can talk a little bit more about the drawing we're doing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So,
Do that.
in celebration, I just hit a milestone for me. We track our book sales and readership and everything through various ways. Obviously, the amount of money and everything else, but page reads is another metric that Amazon uses, and they calculate the number of pages in the books, number of people that bought the books, as well as loaned it on Kindle Unlimited, that sort of thing. And so, my two books collaboratively just about a week and a half ago went over 3 million page reads. So
Oh, wow.
that was a nice benchmark for me. So and as part of that celebration, Robyn and I are doing a giveaway of 5 signed copies. We'll do a giveaway of one of each. You can choose which one you want if your name's shown. So come up. We have a newsletter sign up here. You don't necessarily have to participate in the newsletter if you would like to get your name
Yeah, they do.
in the book. But we would love you to be on the newsletter. My editor, publisher would love you to be on the newsletter. But also, it only comes out about roughly once a month, and we'll give you updates on what new books are coming out down the pike, and other little tidbits of things that are happening, like the author talk we were doing today.
Is
So,
the newsletter digital or hard copy?
what's that? Digital. So, yeah.
Robyn, I do want to compliment you on your answer to the question. I made a comment, I was giving her a little bit of grief when I come in about one of her characters in the book, and she said, well, when you write your own book, you can write it the way you want.
Yeah, especially with my family, you gotta get back as hard as they can. All right, so feel free to come up. We'll give you a ticket, toss your name in. Stick around. Let's see. Well, what time did we say it was? 4:20? 1:20. 4:20. So maybe we'll say.